really looking forward to this one. Definitely do participate and be involved, and do be very open with your honest feedback, because we're also figuring it out as we go ahead, and we'd love to incorporate whatever adds more value to what we're trying to do here. Today we've got Ahmed, and Chaitanya and I will be hosting, of course. Um, so yeah, I don't wanna like keep you guys waiting. Let's jump right into it. So Chaitanya and Ahmed, why don't you guys take it up? Yes, Amish.
Joined Bank of America as an intern.
Chaitanya, I think we're losing you. There must be some issue with your connectivity. Ahmed, in the meanwhile, why don't you quickly
Yeah,
introduce yourself for the benefit of the room here?
yeah. So I'll do that definitely. So hey everybody, my name is Ahmed. I am a chartered accountant. I cleared in the January 2019, last November 18, which came on Jan 19, and I did my articleship from KPMG in audit, where I used to work on FS clients. I did largely, I was the kind of guy. I largely worked on the smaller audits wherein I independently work. I did a couple of larger audits as well. That's when I and Chaitanya met on the True Life audit. And after KPMG, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, and I just applied to a lot of places. I gave a lot of interviews. I was very open to different areas. As I'm sure, I'm not sure what is the major crowd here. I'm assuming it's largely either CAs who just cleared or people who are doing the CA currently. I assume that is the general mix. So definitely, guys, keep your horizons as broad as you can. There's no. I'd say the glass ceiling is sort of in your head, as to what you can and cannot do. So post KPMG, I joined Bank of America as an intern in their investment banking team, and I've been in this job for almost 2 years now. The thing about this job is this is a front end role, right? It's when you hear investment banking, you have a lot of ideas going on in your mind as to what I may be doing. So I'm going to try my best to give you an honest perspective as to what investment banking is and clearly what it is not. Right? It's both ways. So I work in the India investment banking team. I cover largely India clients. It's both M&A and capital markets role. So like just to dive into it, Aniket, if you don't mind, I just like to take a minute here and just take them through, investment banking in general, like what is investment banking specifically and how is it different from, when you hear investment banking, I think the types people think is like trading, right? It's definitely not trading. I'm not a trader.
Ahmed, just one thing that I would suggest is, while we are definitely, even I am personally really looking forward to getting to know more, I personally just feel that let's just quickly take a poll of the room so we know what our audience is today, just to know like where they are in their stage, whether they are qualified chartered accountants or they're just coming out of college. Guys, I would suggest that use the chat box and message to everyone, and just in maybe a word or two, if you guys could just quickly introduce yourselves in terms of, especially whether you're a qualified chartered accountant or you're a graduate or you're a student pursuing CA. We'd just like to get a census of where the room is at, so we can basically tailor the content that we want to deliver in a more meaningful way. Quickly.
And while you guys do that, sorry, I mean, I lost you guys in the middle. Did we introduce Ahmed or did you, I mean, were you guys able to listen anything?
The responsibility of introducing.
I introduced myself.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Cleared CA. Congrats, Shailesh.
I thought you were telling
Cleared
me.
CA. So basically, we have either qualified chartered or pursuing
2 years of work experience in EVA and now in PwC. Nice. Qualified chartered. Bhav graduate. Very interesting. Working with KPMG. 1+60. 1+60, could you also give us your name? Because that's a good phone though. Okay, we have a lawyer as well.
Yeah, the lawyer is a friend of mine.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so quite a few chartered accountants and students I see, and a good mix of both. Awesome, awesome. Thank you everyone for coming. And MBA in finance, wow, awesome. All right, cool. Ahmed, you know your crowd here, so take it ahead, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a pretty good mix of guys, and I'm congratulations to everybody who's just cleared CA now, and definitely guys. So like I was saying before, right? So I'm gonna try and give you guys a fair background as to what exactly is investment banking and how is it different from like the types of trading or like research. Like there are different types of broadly. I guess like if you like see can call it investment banking on a broad basis, but specifically if you talk about core investment banking, it's M&A and capital markets. And if you've ever seen like a Wolf of Wall Street, this is not Wolf of Wall Street, okay? I just want to get that out of the way. Okay, there is no such thing, right? There's definitely not that you guys see in the movies. Right? It's just like it's as far of it from there as it can get, right? I was definitely a trader, and even some traders I know definitely their lives are not like that. So just to give you a sense as to what I do, look, this is a role that is largely India focused. I cover India clients. What we do is essentially we try and help companies either raise capital or we try and say they have a particular business that is not doing too well. We help them either divest that business or say it's a very large conglomerate like an Aditya Birla Group, and they want to try and expand their horizons even further. We try and show them opportunities in other particular white spaces as well. Could be in a completely different business or could be adjacent to one of their other businesses. So that's just largely to give you a sense as to what investment banking is in the core sense of the term, and how just to give you an idea as to how I got into this role. So, like, I'll be honest. So, this at least Bank of America has a CA investment banking practice. They have a CA internship program, and it is largely for freshly qualified chartered accountants. They're a little fussy, like most bulge brackets, they're a little fussy about their hiring practices. So they generally hire analysts from the top three IIMs, and there is um, um, then they have the CA internship program as well. So I'm just going to take one step back. I'm going to tell you how investment banking, the layout of investment banking is at least, right? What is a bulge bracket? What is a boutique? What's a domestic bank, etc., etc. So in your investment banking parlance, you have bulge bracket banks. That is the equivalent of say a big four in your accounting terms, right? You have the really, really large banks. You'll have your four large American banks: Goldman, JP Morgan, MS. You'll have Bank of America. You'll have your European bulge brackets, which will be the likes of Credit Suisse, HSBC, Barclays. You will have your Japanese banks, Nomura, etc. These probably round out your bulge brackets, the really, really large banks in the world. Then you will have on the other end of the spectrum, you will have your smaller, more niche banks. Bulge brackets offer everything, right? They'll have their M&A practice, they'll have their M&A practice, etc., etc. And you will have the boutiques, which will do only one particular thing. Largely boutiques, I'd say, are more M&A focused. The likes of Roth, Moelis, Avendus in India, these are your boutique banks, right? They do only one particular service and they do it very, very well. That is the offering of a boutique. And then obviously you have your domestic banks in India, the likes of Kotak Investment Bank, Axis Capital, SBI, JM, etc., etc. These are your India-focused domestic banks. So I'd say, look, the work in all of the banks is largely the same. Investment banking, whether you do it in an SBI capital market, you do it in a Roth, or you do it in a Goldman, they're going to be essentially doing the same work everywhere. What will differ is maybe, like in a boutique, you'll do only M&A, you won't get to do capital markets. In a domestic bank, probably the client profile could be more domestic oriented. Bulge brackets, they may cater to MNC, more of MNC clients. Like BAML, I know particularly a very strong focus on MNC clients, given that they have a global relationship there, right? So that is how it might differ. Second thing that might differ is probably a compensation profile. Obviously, you get a bulge bracket, you get paid more to do the same thing like you do as compared to what you do in a domestic bank or in a boutique. And so that's just to give you a background as to how you have your bulge brackets, you have your boutiques, and you have your domestic bank. So I work in a bulge bracket bank, right? Merrill has been in the game for as long as it is, right? So just to give you some background, Merrill is a very, very strong. We do M&A, of course, we do, but we're largely a capital market shop, right? A very, very strong capital markets franchise. So to give you some perspective, back when it used to be called Merrill Lynch, we did the Union Bank IPO of all IPOs, like if you believe it or not, right? That's how into capital markets we were leaders in capital markets, and even today a fairly strong capital markets franchise. I'd say on the other end of the spectrum, you have a bank like Goldman Sachs that does more M&A focus. So that is your focus in with your focus area. Now, what I'd say, now that I've given you a laydown of at least what the banking layout looks like, I want to now go on into what each of these product offerings are. And as a CA, where I'd see, where your interest may lie in. If you look at M&A as a product, right, it is a very, very it is like every M&A is different. It's not like capital markets, which are largely more procedurally based. Where largely you will have a set of procedures. Ye karna, and you will list a company in India, or you may list them in the US also, or whatever you may have that. But M&A is very, very ad hoc. It is very, very on the fly type of a thing. You learn a lot more, I personally feel, in M&A. I recently did an M&A. I did the Piramal Glass deal where Blackstone had bought the glass packaging business of Piramal. That was a $1 billion transaction that we closed probably sometime this month. That was my first full-fledged sell-side M&A. Bank of America was the sell-side advisor to Piramal on that transaction, along with Axis Capital. So that deal, the amount that I learned in that deal was equivalent to the amount that I had learned in the last 1.5 years. Just to give you some perspective, that's what M&A can do. And definitely, say your end game is like a private equity or a VC role. I don't say VC, but more private equity. Then M&A is very, very important. You need to have an M&A background. And any specific questions so far? I'm not sure how this exactly. I can keep talking like for like an hour on banking, but I'm not exactly sure where I should stop.
Ahmed, I actually want to like follow up with that. If you could also like talk a bit about the specific the sector which you probably have more exposure in, or is it more sector agnostic for you? And B, when you work in M&A, what typically at what series does Bank of America sort of plan to enter and work with clients? I mean, do they work with more nascent seed level clients, which I'm sure they don't? And then, or whether do they enter subsequently in Series C, Series D, and so on? And
yeah,
also,
so that's a very good question.
Light on what these series are for the general audience. And
yeah, definitely. So I'll answer your first question on it is a sector agnostic role, at least at the analyst. So I'll give you another background on the hierarchy, right? So how it works: you enter the bank, you'll enter as an analyst. On top of it is an associate, there's a VP, a director, and an right. That's how the hierarchy works. So it's a sector agnostic role. Like maybe if you join a boutique or domestic bank, they may align with your sector as soon as you join. But if you join the bank, I'll look. I'm from bank and what I from my friends who work in boutiques or other domestic banks. So back to the topic at hand. This is the sector agnostic role, and we do work with I won't say very early stage companies like what you typically see in a VC. We work more with growth stage companies or with companies which are more mature in their pipeline and are looking at accessing the public markets. They're at that stage of their life cycle. You will have the likes of your Flipkart or your Ola, which are very, very well established at scale startups, versus say more like an early stage, very, very nascent seed stage startup. So second question, Anike, where you said, so there are like various rounds in funding. You'll have a Series A funding when the company, you'll have a seed stage funding initially. It's just an idea. Series A, thoda aur mature ho gaya. You'll have Series B, Series C round is Series C and D round is where the company is established some scale, there is some maturity. Then Series E and F rounds, and then they keep on going until the company lists finally. It either decides to access the public capital markets, or it may decide, or the investor may decide to sell off the business to a strategic investor or a sponsor, or what you may have. So that is that. I see some people asking how I applied to BAML. I applied. This is
Ahmed,
yeah.
Before you move on to that question, firstly, thanks for setting the tone as to what investment banking is about. Now catering to started accountants, why don't you help them out with how your previous experience, what was your previous experience and how it worked out for you and how it helped you in cracking the interview? Of course, technicalities, what kind of a what kind of communication skills are required to crack these interviews, and what was your entire interview experience
Yeah,
like?
that's just an excellent question, Chaitanya. So I'll give you some background, right? I came from an audit background, so definitely I've been used to the long hours and the slogging and everything. So that is like a very, very important. Because this is not an easy job, right? By no means of the word. This is a high risk, high reward job, right? The compensation is fantastic. The work hours are terrible. There is no, honestly, work-life balance is pretty much a myth, for at least in banking in general, and voice brackets even more so, right? I work about 18 hours a day, probably 100-hour weeks, right? The life is hard, but that's the kind of life that you ask for if you choose to enter into banking. That is what you're signing up for, right? On the other end of the spectrum, definitely, I've learned a lot here. Like audit, like I came from an audit background, so I was always a very compliance and very like this is what I have to do. This is audit, this compliance testing, substantive, vagera, all that. I did all of that, and at the end of my articleship, I realized that look, this is not something I want to do further. I want to learn about business. That was I always had an inclination to understand about businesses. Right, that is a very, very important piece of it. Right, you must have an understanding. You must have a genuine interest in finance. You must have a genuine interest in learning about businesses and learning how they take, how what makes businesses run, how different business models work. You have a genuine interest, a genuine business understanding, and even a fair amount of business acumen, then I do think investment banking is a good opportunity to evaluate. Coming to how I exactly cracked the interview, definitely look, I did my articles from a big four firm. So I did get that corporate exposure that people look for, communication skills, everything, all of that is fairly important in this role. Um, the interview process in BAML, there are a couple of rounds with the associates. There's a VP round. Given that they are hiring an intern here, honestly, it's not as grilling as when you're hiring an analyst from an IIM. There's a much more formal process. The rounds are much. There are more number of rounds. There's a modeling round involved, everything. But given that I was being hired for an internship round, I didn't go through all that because it wouldn't make sense for me, right? I am a complete blank slate here for them. That's exactly the kind of person they want. A completely blank slate, fresher CA, so they can come and they can mold him into that role gradually. That is your ideal candidate profile. You're someone who's completely, you just need to have a fair understanding of your valuation concept, like whatever you learned in your CA final, FM, your basics of finance, corporate finance, CAPM model, beta calculation, WAC, etc. Should have a fair grip on your finance concepts. You should have a fair understanding of what deals are going on in the market. You don't need to know where comps are trading at, or which transaction has gotten done at what multiple, or what is the investment thesis. That's obviously not the expectation here. Just read about a fair number of, just your everyday economic times will have a fair number of information here. कौन सा पी क्या एसेट खरीद रहा है, कौन सा बिजनेस का आईपीओ हो रहा है, अगले महीने फ्लिपकार्ट का आईपीओ हो रहा है, फ्लिपकार्ट कैसे बिजनेस करता है, what's a marketplace model, what do you mean by a marketplace model, just your very, very basic understanding of what of any particular sector or any particular company, just so you can have something to talk about in the interview. So the interviewer knows that look, this guy at least did some level of preparation. I'm not asking you to ace all the questions. That's never the point of any interview, right? The point is to have a fair understanding and to at least have some sense when you're speaking and not just completely faff through your interview, right? The internship lasts for, yeah. No, please.
Would it be fair to say that to crack these interviews you need three things? One is good communication skills. That is
Yeah, very, very
indispensable.
important.
You need to be
Yeah, it's for
outspoken. You
every
need to
role. Yeah,
know
yeah,
you need
that'll
to know
apply
how
for
to
every.
speak to people and get your work done.
Yeah, yeah,
Second is
agreed.
second is you need to be aware of the current affairs or something which is going on regarding, if you're applying in investment banking, then at least you need to be aware of what kind of PE fundings are happening, what are the big deals which
Yeah,
recently happened, and what is the
yeah,
current, basically current affairs around finance
yeah. Current
related
affairs
matters.
around finance and deal
Correct.
making in general.
And
Yeah,
thirdly, based on your prior experience, so let's say if you have worked in, since you worked in audit, and I personally know we did a lot of insurance audits together. So I mean, it would be good to have a point of view around the insurance industry. Yeah, I mean, one can expect your interviewer to ask you about what's your view on the insurance industry, or if you have
Yeah,
experience in, let's say,
definitely.
where you have done audits of cement related industry companies or
Yeah,
any manufacturing company, then it would be good
yeah,
to have a point of view on these things, on what's happening in that
that
particular,
agreed,
rather than
definitely, right.
a lot of people focus more on financial modeling, doing a lot of
Mm,
e-courses. Of course, I mean,
yeah,
no knowledge goes to waste. Of course, it is
mm,
important, but doing that but not knowing stuff about what you had done earlier would put you in a bit of a difficult spot. And that brings me to the next question. I mean, I'm sure you had a very tough competition while interviewing
yeah,
for
yes,
the role, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of rankers also who must have applied. So, based
yeah.
on your interactions with your colleagues, and even now since you're a part of Bank of America, and when you guys go out to hire, what is the differentiating factor that you feel made them hire you and not some ranker? Because there's a myth, that rankers will only
Yeah,
get good jobs.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
what
definitely.
according
There
to
is
you is the
just, yeah.
differentiating?
Yeah, just I'm not sure if the audience knows I am not a rank holder. Okay, look, I appreciate rank holders, extremely intelligent people. Kudos to you if you got a rank. Well deserved. Please don't waste it. Right, ranks are very,
True.
they're fairly. People say they got a rank and then 2 attempts later people forget about it. Right, so please don't waste your rank. If you do, please go for the kind of jobs that only a rank holder can get, consulting, banking, etc., etc. Coming back to what Chaitanya was talking about, definitely when we go out to hire, at least when I look at the kind of resumes that I get, I'd say, your core skills in this job are presently two things. Right? For an analyst role, you need to be really good at Excel, need to be really good at PowerPoint. Right? These are your two core essential skills, at least from a technical perspective. And obviously, even you see, most of you guys are CAs, right? Everyone, in fact, almost like 95% of the crowd who is a CA. So I'm sure they'll know accounting, they'll know how the three statement works, they'll know how to read an annual report, they'll know your basic line items, what revenue is, what PAT is, what net income ratios are. You'll know all of that, right? But your core technical skills, how good you're at Excel, because see, essentially, this is a job at the end of the day, right? You have a fixed set of tasks that you have to achieve within a fixed set of time. You have to be as efficient about it as you can. So if say you're really good at Excel but not really good at PowerPoint, because I'm sure articleship में शायद कोई इसने PowerPoint किया है, किसी ने किया है. I personally had it. So I had to pick up most of the skills on the job. But had I known or someone would have been there to guide me at this stage, I probably would have told that person that, hey, look, if I'm not good at PowerPoint, spend some time on PowerPoint. Look, do try and do those courses. At least try and build up your technical skills that you can. So when you're on the job, you don't waste time learning something that you could have learned way before, and you can focus more time on getting that work more efficiently done and trying to understand what transaction you're working on and spending more on the business side of things rather than formatting logos at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? Look, nobody wants to be doing that, but hey, that's part of the job. Coming back to a kind of resumes we look at, definitely, it does help if I'd say you're from an audit background, because then you're already pretty good at Excel. If you've worked in a particular sector, then yes, definitely we're going to ask you about that sector. If you've look, it's investment banking is definitely, you should have been an academic performer across your life, right? And if you even scored, it's not about you getting a 98%. It's about you maintaining consistent performance, right? Even if you're say like an 85%, but you gradually maintain that consistent performance across your 10, 12, your graduation, your CA, you've been a fairly good performer, then you are a fairly good fit for this kind of a role, right? I'd say at least look, maybe in the bulge bracket, they may be a bit more fussy about hiring, say a ranker or say only an IIM graduate. But if you're more open, I'd say I'm not sure if this question is in your pipeline, Chaitanya, as to how a
Okay,
CA can enter into investment banking. Maybe I might be jumping the gun here a bit, but
please do. That's all right.
so how can a CA get into investment banking, right? That's a very good question. So what are your options, right? Your option is to one, apply to this BAML internship program, where you interview and then you get there, you do an internship program. The internship lasts for 6 months. There could be an extension. After the extension, you can get a full-time offer. You may not get a full-time offer, right? To give you some perspective, we've hired of not about a dozen interns in the last 2-3 years. Bank of America has hired a dozen CA interns. They've been a little more than that. From that, roughly 3 to 4 CAs. From that, I was a second intern to get a full-time offer. Before me, there was one guy many years ago. He got an intern. He converted to a full-time role. He did the job for 2 years, and then he went on to do his MBA at Cornell. And I'm the second guy. And after me, another colleague of mine got a full-time offer. One of the guys got a full-time offer. He didn't take it. So that is one option you try in your bulge bracket banks. The other option is you explore the MBA route, right? After you complete your CA, you can give your CAT. I'd probably say this is the most efficient way of getting into investment banking because look, right, the candidate profile here, the typical pool is largely an MBA, right? This is an MBA dominant profession. I'm not saying CAs can't do this role. Look at me, I'm a CA, I did it. That's why I'm sure, and I'm not a rank holder or anything. So anybody can, it's not like you need to do an MBA to do this job, right? Definitely not. Obviously, a CA can do this job. But just given that the candidate pool here has been from an MBA profession, the typical investment banker, your entire team by and large will be MBAs. So they tend to hire from the campuses where they come from, right? The same logic can apply in a big four as well, right? Why do big fours hire CAs? Okay, वहाँ के partners are CA. Similar logic will apply to a bank as well, right? If your entire MD pool, VP pool, associate pool, 90% of them are MBAs from a particular institute, be it an IIM, A, B, or C, by and large, they will go to that particular institute to hire. So when you're giving your CAT, your goal should be to get into an IIM, A, B, or C. The third route that you can explore to getting into banking is you try a domestic or a boutique bank, right? Your likes of SBI, Cap Markets, Kotak. Basically, the banks which are more liberal in their hiring practices, right? Which are more open to hiring candidates from a different background, from a non-MBA background. And then you can eventually trade your way up into a bulge bracket role. You may get hired in SBI Cap Markets. You may work there for 1.5 to 2 years, then you may trade up to a Kotak, and you may eventually trade up to a Citi or a BAML or a JP. And then that's where you reach the bulge bracket. So these are largely your three ways to get into banking. You do this BAML internship. BAML is the only intern bank that hires CAs, right? At least at a pre-MBA analyst level. I think UBS also hires, but there are very, very few bulge bracket banks in India which generally hire CAs at an analyst role. जिन चुन के एक दो banks रहेंगे. The second option is to explore the MBA route, which I personally feel is the most efficient way of doing banking, given that you have the skill set that these guys want. And the third route is you explore the domestic banking, which are more liberal to hiring candidates from a different background, and you eventually work your way up.
Like, would it be fair to say that the promotions, in terms of promotions, it would be faster for an MBA to get promoted as compared to a CA who does not have an MBA, or is it new?
Yeah, definitely. At least at BAML, guys, I'll tell you. So when I joined as an analyst, they hired me as a junior analyst, and when you hire from campuses, they get hired as a senior analyst. So the analyst cycles here are typically 2 years for a junior analyst, and for a senior analyst, it's 1 year. So basically, the guys who came with the people who I joined with as an analyst, the crop of 2020 batch of IIM graduates who joined Bank of America. In 2021, they will become associates. I will be eligible to become an associate in 2022. Now, you may say that why is that, given that I spent a year before them in the system already. I joined in April 2019, these guys joined in 2020. But look, that's just how it is, right? I can't change the rules. It is what it is, right? These banks are, this is just how these banks work, right? I mean,
and
the fact that I got hired here in the first place is itself a pretty big thing for them. They had to fight a lot to hire me, right? There was a lot of,
So, Ahmed, also, would it be fair to sort of put a perspective in a way that, I mean, because you joined right after CA, you must have also been younger and you would have had those years ahead of you. And secondly, I mean, just in terms of your, ROI and the kind of money you had to invest to get where you reached. I mean, obviously, somebody going through the MBA route also has to keep in mind that the route does require way more capital investment before you stand up that job. While going
definitely
through the path, while the resistance is much higher for someone with financial constraints, maybe it's also a very nice way to sort of wiggle your way through into a world that is generally not very acceptant of chartered accountants.
Yeah, definitely. You can get your foot in the door. Like I said, you can explore opportunities in domestic banks and eventually work your way up from there. I'm saying the MBA route because, like, look, the bulge bracket banks generally hire only the top 3 IIM grads. If your end goal is to join a bulge bracket bank, this is your option. But your point taken, Aniket, definitely. If financial constraints, if finances, if capital is a limitation, then definitely you can explore other opportunities as well. I'm not saying, look, there is not an industry which completely shuns CAs. They're very, very accepting of CAs, at least in the domestic banks and the boutiques I've seen, right? They're much more liberal to hiring people from different backgrounds. Bulge brackets have a relatively narrower mindset, given that they have their hiring practices, which is debatable. Really, I think it's a
It's
separate
a,
conversation we can take offline.
it's a similar story with the MBB, right? I think the buzz bracket investment MBB story,
They're
right?
very fussy about that. Yeah, the top three consulting is very similar to that. Yeah.
Correct, exactly.
So we explored MBA. Of course, MBA would be the most efficient way to get into investment banking if capital is not a constraint. What about CAs who also have done CFA? I mean, you must be having a lot of, probably not in BAML, but probably in
Yeah.
other boutique firms. You must be having a lot of friends who have done CA and CFA. How how easy it is to get into an investment banking, be it boutique firm or a bulge bracket firm or a
But
domestic bank. How I mean, what are the probabilities in terms of only a CA getting into it and a CA and a CFA getting into it?
So look, Chaitanya, I think that CA, CFA are both fantastic degrees, right? One is more of an account, but CA is more of an all-rounder type degree.
Right.
You specialize more in auditing and taxation, should you choose to do that in articleship. CFA is more of a core finance degree, but that's not to say that CS can't do finance, right? Of course they can. We study finance, and on top of that, also you can read books around finance. You can get a fair amount of knowledge, and at least enough to do the job at an initial level. Whatever you don't know, eventually you'll pick up on the job, right? I'm not a CFA. I just cleared my CA and I came with a completely open mind. And whatever I learned on the job, right? Be it basic concepts, right? Like how trading, what is an EV by EBITDA multiple, what do you mean? Actually mean by WACC? How do you prepare a DCF, etc. Everything. How do you prepare an LBO model? Everything I learned on the job. So I'd say probably a CFA would have probably a little bit more of an edge in terms of their finance concept, a little bit of their clarity. But I won't say it's a deal breaker, right? I won't say there's a fundamentally higher chance of you getting hired into investment banking just because you're a CFA versus a CA and a CFA versus if you are just a CA, right? I don't think there's a too big of a delta over there in terms of the probability of getting hired. If you are a CA, then people will be more than happy to evaluate your profile. And if you're a CFA, people will be more than happy to evaluate your profile. Yeah.
And while we are at it, there is always this, I know during the pandemic, we saw huge surge in all these online classes offering, various courses on IB and, financial modeling, etc. related courses. While you guys hire in BAML, how, I mean, or anyone, I mean, based on your experience and discussions that you must be having with your peers, what is the weightage that you put on these, online courses and certifications which are being offered? Are they useful? Are they a game changer, or is it a good to have?
That's a great question, but I don't know if I'll be in the position to answer. I personally haven't done any online courses, right? So I don't know really if they're really a game changer or not. I have seen these posts on LinkedIn and the social media of people offering these courses. I'd say, look, if you feel that these courses add value, and if you feel that you don't know that and you'd like to take a course to learn it, then I'm sure you can take these courses. But I really don't think they're a game changer by any means.
Right.
So it's more of a good to have.
It's a good to have.
Good to have, but not an essential. Yeah, not
exactly. But I mean, coupled with good market knowledge and good communication skill and good experience, you can. I mean, it's always a good to have, but it's not something which
definitely
a recruiter will harp on. You have not done a certificate.
Definitely not. Definitely. At least see, you're essentially, like I said, right? If you're getting hired as an intern, they don't expect you to know any of that, right? They don't expect you to know financial modeling. They don't expect you to know the nuances of valuation, right? Where will you apply a DCF model? Where will you apply it? Where will you go with transaction? Where will you go with trading comms, etc., etc. They don't expect you to know all that. Like I said, it's just your basics of concepts of finance, a basic, genuine, a fair bit of market knowledge, which you can easily get from just like Google and reading the news, right? Just read Economic Times, maybe just a little bit of Economic Times, just Google on a couple of deals that you may have heard. Flipkart का IPO हो रहा है, अगले महीने थोड़ा Flipkart पे पढ़ लो. फिर आमिर क्लास का डील हुआ, थोड़ा उस पे पढ़ लो. SBI कार्ड्स का IPO हुआ था लास्ट ईयर, थोड़ा उस पे पढ़ लो. Just a little bit, man. You don't have to spend a lot of time.
Ahmed, sorry to interrupt. Just quickly, guys, one thing. We're closing in on the 40-minute limit that Zoom has. So I would request you guys to just quickly rejoin using the same link once the time gets.
Dude, no, I think you upgraded it. I got a notification.
I did not. Maybe. I mean, if we did, then awesome.
I got a notification.
Perfect. Just
that the host was
great. Just in case you guys get cut off, just please join back. And also, Ahmed, I would like to just ask you to, once we have done this, done with this leg of discussion, also throw some light on what your work in terms of what you actually do on the ground level on a typical day looks like. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times what happens is that investment banking as a name sounds so fancy that,
It's quite glamorous. Yeah.
yeah, that people want it without really understanding what they will
Yeah.
end up doing for maybe 80% of their time. So maybe
Yeah.
That's
just
true.
That's
That's a
true.
great question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be honest. I was one of those guys. Okay. I didn't know what investment banking was. Sounded very fancy. Right. I also saw Wolf of Wall Street. I also got very excited when I
same
got
thing
this
happened with
opportunity
me.
to
Same thing
intern.
happened with me when I
Yeah.
went to FDD. I just
Uh,
came in and I'm like,
uh,
dude, this is awesome.
अरे ये तो बढ़िया होगा यार, क्या बढ़िया चीज है यार, आके अरे चुपचाप बैठो पीपीटी बनाओ. So yeah, so typical day in the life, I definitely look, my hours are fairly wrong, like I said, right? 16 to 18 hours at the higher end. On an average, you can say anywhere between 14 to 16-hour job. So my day starts with obviously checking my emails, right? That's a pretty definitely a you can't start your day without checking your emails. Like that, you'd have to get up in the morning, because thing is, right, definitely if you're at least working with, say, your counterparts in another geography, they may have a much earlier start than you to work. I was working with the US team once in between, right? So obviously their morning is my night, so they'll work during the time I sleep, and when I wake up I have like 50 emails I have to go through, ye karo, wo karo, etc., etc. So it is very important. I check my emails, I respond to a couple of emails, I wake up by around, say, 8:30ish if I've not had a too late night. If I obviously slept at 6 in the morning, then obviously I won't get up at 8. But assuming I slept at a fairly reasonable time, at say 2 a.m., I'll probably get up by 8:30, check my emails till around 9 o'clock. Probably then whatever, do my morning routine, etc. Have breakfast, sit down by around 9:30, 9:35, get the ball rolling. Probably then the day obviously goes in whatever I'd obviously start my day with like obviously making my to-do list, whatever tasks I have to do during the day, basically whatever emails I get, somebody asked me to do X, Y, I'll get that shit done, whatever. Then a lot of the day goes in taking calls. Obviously, if you're on a live deal, then it is very then you're on that deal, right? Then your entire day will just go on working on a particular presentation, working on a financial model, or you're on a call and you're taking notes. A lot of senior people on the calls, so you have to take notes and summarize the meeting minutes of the call. Your typical analyst, like 101, right? Whatever that may, everything and anything under the sun an analyst may do. So that is generally my day. And anything else, any specific questions? I'm not sure of the order. I'm not really
I would
looking at the
actually
chat. I don't know. I saw a couple of questions.
correct. No, I
Yeah.
would actually want like just a bit more on that in terms of when you're doing your like when you're say on a live deal, essentially at a ground level, what sort of analysis or work do you end up doing? So like you briefly mentioned that DCF and you mentioned financial models. Very quickly, not
Mm-hmm.
to get into details about the technicalities of what they are,
Mm-hmm.
just in terms
Mm-hmm.
of how you think of what are the 5 major highlights of the kind of buckets in which you think your groundwork can be summarized into. Like,
That's an excellent
So
question.
just
Yeah.
groundwork and the deliverable that you are supposed to
correct.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So I'll take an example of the pyramid glass deal that I worked on, right? I was there in that deal since inception. So your first stage in the deal was like pitching stage. Then you will go to a client. You have to prepare a pitch book, is what it's called, right? It's essentially a PowerPoint presentation that you prepare that has your, first of all, it'll have your credentials, that why they should hire you, आपने क्या मचाया है life में, company ने क्या मचाया है, your thoughts on valuation. This was so obviously an M&A pitch. So an M&A pitch, and this was sell side M&A pitch, right? So they wanted to sell their glass packaging business. We were pitching for a role to advise them in that sale process. So during the pitch, I learned a lot about the glass packaging industry in general. The pitch book involved, like I said, you will have your credentials section, you will have your thoughts around positioning the asset, your thoughts around valuing the asset, your thoughts around potential buyers. These are probably the 4 critical parts of the pitch. Once you do the pitch and you're mandated on a role, then the next step is your preparation of deal collateral, which is your financial model, your IM is what it's called, basically an information memorandum, your teaser, your other deal collaterals that you prepare. This is your first phase of the M&A transaction, right? Wherein you prepare the deal collaterals. At the end of this phase, you will release the deal collaterals to your potential buyer, which in our case was several PE funds, strategic investors, etc., etc. You had the likes of Blackstone, Carlyle, Bain, KKR. We went and we said that, look, this is a company, Piramal Glass. They want to sell their glass packaging business. Are you interested? If you are, here's an NDA, you can sign it, and we'll give you a model and an IM. Basically, you can do your diligence. At the end of the phase 1 of the process, they'll give you a non-binding offer, right? Which is their thoughts around how much they want to pay for this company and how much time they'll need to get from the non-binding stage to the binding stage, how much time they need to do the diligence on the asset. Once you reach the end of the stage of phase 1, you get your non-binding offers. You shortlist, you'll get say 20 non-binding bids. You may shortlist, or 20 is too much. You will get like say 6 non-binding offers. You may shortlist 3 of them and take them to the next round. Next round is the final round of the M&A process, which is round 2. The end deliverable here at the end of the round 2 process is your binding bid. Right? That is a formal binding offer that an investor may make to buy this asset. Right? In my case, it was Blackstone which won the race, and Blackstone made a formal binding bid for roughly $1 billion to buy this business. So during phase 1 of the process, my role was largely preparing the deal collaterals, the financial model, the teaser, the IM, and the entire investor reach out process. We reached out from 70 odd buyers. And from that 70 odd buyers, 20 odd buyers responded, yes, we're interested. From those 10 odd buyers, we got 5 non-binding offers. From those 5 non-binding offers, we shortlisted 3 guys and took them to the next round. In the next round, my role was helping them coordinate on the diligence. Right? This is a proper core banking. What you guys do, and this is a very fairly standard M&A process. You get any M&A, these are the steps that will be there: pitching, phase 1, phase 2, and closer. That is your typical M&A process. Capital market transactions are, I'd say, again, fairly similar. You can start with the pitching phase. You have a company that wants to do an IPO. We'll again go to them. We'll tell them that, look, we're Bank of America. We want to help you list your company on the public markets. We think this is a fantastic company. Here is why we think you should appoint us. Here is what we think of you. And here is how much we think you can be valued at. That is your typical capital markets pitch. If they're happy with you, you will get mandated. Then obviously you have your more capital market procedures, which is you have your lawyers get involved, you have your bankers get involved. There's a prospectus that is made. It's called the draft red herring prospectus. I'm sure you have read about it in company law. It basically contains everything you need to know about the company. What is the key risks about the company? What does the company do? What is business like? What is the industry of the company like? What are the financials like, etc., etc. That is your whole DRHP process. Then the phase 2 of the process is when you go and you market the company. You go on what are called road shows, wherein you have meetings with potential investors, the likes of BlackRock, the likes of Fidelity. You go them and look like, here, this is Flipkart. It's going to list in the public markets next month. This is why we think you should invest in this company. And then there's a book building process, wherein these public market investors will come to you. They'll be like, "Humko itna paisa dena, itne shares ke liye." And you essentially build an order book, is what it's called. It's called a book building process, wherein book building is nothing but just getting orders from investors for a particular number of shares. That entire book building process happens. You do the allotment, you do the listing, and the company trades in the aftermarket. That is your entire IPO process in a very, very brief nutshell. I've skipped a lot of points here because I'm taking paucity of time. I'll let you include some time for Q&A as well. So I don't know, I think the last 15 minutes of the leg. So if we could open the session up for Q&A, I'll leave it to Aniket and Chaitanya.
Ahmed, I was just about to say that I think you're such a fabulous guest to have because you make our life very easy. That's exactly what we want to do now. Chaitanya, what do you say? Let's just ask, everyone can just, guys, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions and really.
Yeah. So, before that, just one question, if you could quickly answer, what are the exit opportunities after doing IB? I mean, if you spend 2 years doing investment banking, then where can you go next?
I think IB is like in a way for a lot of people, but yeah, sure. Sorry.
A lot of people. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to have this kind of stressful life throughout your life, or see investment banking, obviously it's more of a sell side role at the end of the day, right? You're more of a middleman. And when your most common exit opportunity I've seen, obviously private equity, right? People want to go to the buy side because they want to get into investing. Probably, obviously, it's probably the only job that I've heard probably pays more than banking does, right? And banking pays a lot. So that's really saying something. Obviously, the kind of work they do, they'll probably be more granular. You'll have a more finer understanding of particular business because at the end of the day, you're putting your own money, right? You're not a banker. Banker is merely facilitating the process. Your objective as a banker is to get the deal done. That's it. The objective as an investor is to diligence the asset adequately, ensure that you have the right valuation, and then invest. So obviously, it's a lot more nuanced. The process is a lot more numbers heavy. It's a lot more of time that you spend on understanding of a business model rather than banking, which is more of a marketing to that extent. Right? There's obviously an element of marketing there, which is not there in private.
So one can get into an investor role basically in form of
investor
a
role,
PE
yeah. PE or a VC. If you want to do late stage
VC
investing,
fund.
you do PE. You want to do early stage investing, you want to work with startups, and they're into a PE role.
Also,
there are other strategy options as well. You
also,
can work in the strategy team of a Birla Group, etc.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, please, Aniket, go on.
I think Corp Dev would also be a good, exactly.
Yeah. Strategy team of a Birla or a Tata or a Reliance, etc. These are other opportunities that I've seen people exiting. There's only three opportunities: strategy, PE, VC. Or if people, I've seen people start up their own thing as well. I have a friend of mine who's an analyst here. He now has his own startup. I know two other people doing FDD who have their own startup now.
Right. So we can start with the questions.
Actually, Ahmed,
we can start with the.
So
sorry.
One of them, also one of my friends also is he was a VC for around 3 years and he exited like that and became started heading the Corp Dev for Razorpay. So I mean,
okay,
those are the kind of things.
Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, Chaitanya.
Stuff, yeah.
On that note, we can quickly take up the questions which are on the chat box, and then we can probably open up for a Q&A. I mean, if someone wants to ask a question in person. So Gaurav asks, how long does the internship last for? Post completion of your internship, are you absorbed as an analyst? I think I answered that question, Gaurav. 6 to 9 months of internship and absorption would completely depend on your performance. And like Ahmed also mentioned, around 3 to 4 guys got absorbed in the last 2 years out of 12 who were hired.
12 were hired. 3 to 4 got offers, from that 2 accepted. 3 accepted.
Right. How hard is it for CA fresher who has audit experience in articleship from a small size firm to get a role in Ivy? Probably, Akash, you would have to work your way up through a boutique firm. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Ahmed.
Yeah, definitely. Domestic banks is your way to go then, unless you choose the MBA route. If you straight want to try and bulge brackets, then the only way you should do an MBA. If you come from a relatively mid-sized firm, otherwise you can, like I said, you can eventually start at a smaller firm and trade your way up to a bulge bracket. Both the opportunities are very good opportunities to evaluate. It really depends on you and where you see your career going.
And also if you have the capital to.
If the capital, yeah.
Right.
That's it.
So, right. So next, Pratima asks, I have got a rank, but articleship from mid-sized firm. So selection in IB profile is a bit difficult. Any suggestion for me? Should I apply for this internship? So Pratima, I would personally say you have got a rank, so you have a big, plus on you, irrespective of whether you're from mid-sized firm or a small firm. You have a big plus on you in terms of a rank. So if you could be up to date with the current affairs, and if you are outspoken, if you can speak with people well and get your things done, I think you should definitely apply for this internship.
Also, I think
irrespective of that, you should definitely apply for the internship. I mean, apply karne mein kya jata hai?
I agree with that. Please don't hesitate in applying, guys. Okay, I applied everywhere. Okay, like I didn't apply only in BAML and thinking I'll get into BAML. That would be idiotic. You have to apply in every place you can, right? And you have to then give a lot of interviews. Every interview is a learning opportunity. You learn more about different industry, different roles, be it FP&A, be it consulting, be it banking, be it FDD. Apply everywhere. Do get as many interviews as you can, because you really don't know a job until you actually go and ask the person that, look, hey, what kind of job is this? What are your expectations from a candidate? Only then and then will you actually know whether you can do that job or whether you actually want to do that job, right? Everything sounds very fancy when you initially hear about it, but please do not hesitate from don't hesitate from applying, and do not hesitate from interviews.
Actually, a very shameless plugin, and exactly the problem point that you mentioned now is what we, Chaitanya and I, are actually trying to sort of break down here. Is what, like, try and get you guys some sort of ground level, the word from the horse's mouth before you actually go ahead and sort of venture your way through it. Sure, Chaitanya, if you want to go ahead with the next questions.
Sure. So apart from Bank of America, what good opportunities for CA ranker in investment banking? So you can explore JP Morgan. Ahmed, you can add on.
Definitely, at least front-end banks. Look, I know BAML has a CA internship program. I know UBS has hired CAs in the past. You can try your hand at some very good boutiques like the likes of Roth. There's Moelis. There are the Kotak Investment Banking, one of the best domestic banks. I personally feel that they do very good transaction. At least in capital markets, the leaders in India, right? They do a left view on every deal. Every IPO, you will see BRSP खोल के देख लो कोटक का नाम दिखेगा, right? They're fantastic in that. If you want to do technology investing, if your technology is where it really interests you, Avendus is the place to be, right? Their tech team is the best in India. Nobody can do tech like Avendus. So it really depends on your own interests.
Not on tech deals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the next question is, I hope this answers the questions. If you have any follow-up questions, then you can either post it on the chat box, or you can ask. I'm not sure if we'll be left with any time for asking, but I mean, you can just post it on the chat box. We'll take it up. Next question is, do the investment banking courses from different institute increase probability? We answered that question. Good to have, but not a game changer. Lot of private institutes offer IB courses. So does pursuing an investment banking course, I think it's on similar lines. How is the internal mobility in these bulge brackets?
Okay, that's a good question. Internal mobility, look, I understand you mean you want to do investment banking in, say, London. If my understanding of internal mobility, at least in BAML, we do have an internal mobility program wherein the senior associates get to go to the New York office or the London office or the Hong Kong office for 2 years and do investment banking there. We just had an associate who did that program and he's going to come back now. So internal mobility, I think, varies bank to bank. There's no set policy. At least at BAML, I can tell you it's for senior associates, not for analysts. It's for associates who've been in the system for at least 2 years. They can go to, depending where there is a vacancy, if there's a vacancy in New York or there's a vacancy in, say, Palo Alto in the tech team, then you can go to Palo Alto and work in the tech team for 2 years. If, say, there's a vacancy in the New York office in the FIG team, then you can go in the FIG team and you can do that. But it's completely bank to bank based. There's no straight answer for this.
Got it. Is the pay equal to the efforts that one has to put? I think, Ahmed, you want to brag about it?
हाँ मतलब देख लो अभी आप बैंकिंग करना है, if you want to make a lot of money, then look, hey, there's no other job, right? मुश्किल से यहाँ पे 2-3 jobs in India which make more than I make. So I mean, it's really up to you. But I'd say probably that, look, hey, you're really early stage in your career, right? I'd say probably you can keep the money aside for now and first understand what this role really is, right? The money is a plus one, but shouldn't be your sole driver to get into this job, right? Otherwise you will struggle, right? Make no mistakes. I've seen people get to this job for the money and quit in 6 months and go because they were not cut out for this job, right? This job requires humbleness, humility, patience, and then everything like what I said, technical skills, communication skills. But first 3 most critical important factors are humbleness, humility, and patience. If you're very good at these 3 things, then and only then would I suggest you even think about evaluating banking, at least bulge bracket banking.
Yeah. One thing that I would like to clarify is this is not a 9-to-5 job. So if you're looking for a 9-to-5 job, consulting, investment banking is not a thing. So
no, it is 9 to 5.
That is as crudely as I can put it.
It is 9 to 5, but it's just not 5 p.m. Yeah, it's 5 a.m. So वो देख लेना थोड़ा, yeah.
Sure.
It's a 9 to 5. That's what I tell my parents. I work 9 to 5.
That's true. What about the case for a CA? Did article ship from top 20 firm with DT? What are the prospects? Okay, direct tax. Anything that you would like to suggest people with a tax background? And
tax background, but look, hey guys, from what I've seen, this is my personal from what I've seen from tax article ship. I don't know how much you guys have, so at least an audit. Look, I know what audit is. I know how much you guys log an audit. I don't know if tax is a little more relaxed in terms of their working culture, in terms of their work. At least in KPMG, I always used to be jealous of tax articles because they used to get to go home at 7 and 8 while I'm going home at 2 in the morning. So that was my understanding of tax. Again, like, look, your basic skills of Excel, vagera, at least I honed all of these skills in my articleship, right? So that was a plus point for me. If you come from a tax background, I don't know if you have that exposure to Excel, your basics of Excel and PowerPoint and whatever, all of that. If you don't, it's not a deal breaker, you can obviously learn. I know a guy who's interviewing right now at BAML in the internship comes from a tax background, right? And I'd say exactly what I told him. But look, if you don't have these skills, it's not a problem. You can learn them now. Before you come into the job, you can at least do the basics. So we have no bias against tax articles, definitely not. If you come from a tax background, yes, definitely you can do this job. You may have to put in a little bit more effort initially, but it's not a deal breaker.
Sure. So Ahmed, I think we are on the clock now. I think it's 6 p.m.
6. Yeah.
Do you want to extend it by 5 minutes if you have the time?
Yeah, definitely. I think we can do 5 more minutes. I don't think it's
5 more minutes. So we'll just take up a couple more questions. Are Bank of America hiring for interns currently? Because I tried searching online and I couldn't find anything. Are they?
So I think
So
now
you
we
can
were
check,
hiring. Yeah.
so Gaurav, you can just keep checking the website and the LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
I see a lot
Yeah.
of times. I mean, I keep posting it on my other groups also. I see these vacancies popping up a lot of times. So you can just follow their LinkedIn page and you might get a notification that they have posted some job or something. Or you can keep
Yeah.
checking the websites.
On
But
that note,
after every CA result, they do hire
that
interns is
note,
what I understood.
I would suggest
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you know some relevant, even recruiters or headhunters on
Right.
LinkedIn who frequently post IB related vacancies or something, then that would be, maybe we can later post it in the group and people can follow it for like finding opportunities, etc. If
That's
you
a good idea. Yeah. 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 You can reach out to your Michael Page and natives of the world.
yeah,
Definitely they'll be
exactly,
able to help you
exactly, exactly.
in
Right.
finding opportunities. Yeah.
Is LinkedIn the only source for searching jobs in IB? I don't think so. I mean, LinkedIn is a good source,
Yeah.
but
You
it's
can look at
definitely not the
Glassdoor,
only
etc.
source.
Not the only source.
Right. So you can look at the websites. You can, I mean, a lot of these IIM jobs, etc. also post. I mean, I keep getting some links as to interesting jobs that you're looking for. So you can put up your profile on IIM jobs or Naukri. I mean, I'm sure you'll get something. But I'm not. I think you'll get postings from domestic banks or boutique firms over there. I'm not too sure whether JP and Bank of America would go about hiring that. What's your view on
I
that?
mean, we largely look, at least the analyst pool, we largely hire from the IM. So I don't think we'll ever really
Right.
post, unless we do a lateral hire where we want to hire an analyst from another bank because you don't want to hire a fresher, you want to hire an experienced guy. Then you may do a lateral hire. We did a lateral hire 2 years back. We hired two guys, one female candidate from UBS and one other guy from Aventus. But that is again more need based rather than a formal. By and large, you generally hire from campus. So you're right, Chaitanya. If you want to get into banking, at least from the job portals, you can try your hands at the boutiques and the domestic banks. I'm sure even if you're CAs, right, you guys would have that placement program, right? I know there's some banks. I think 1 year back, SBI Cap Markets came and hired a few guys. So definitely, you guys can try it. I know a friend of mine got hired into Deutsche from the campus placement. That was for a back office role, but nonetheless, like he worked in the back office. That's a good point, actually. I didn't mention that. You can also try entering into the back office of any global bank, work there for a couple of years and switch to front end. I know a friend of mine who just did that right now. He was in Deutsche and then he switched to EY front end banking. So that is another opportunity that you can evaluate.
That answers
while we are at it, there's one more question around the same. Sorry, Aniket, you were saying.
I think that answers Jay's question as well, because he asked how difficult is it to move from back to front as a CA.
It's not that hard. No. The skill sets are largely the same. I won't say it's too difficult.
Right. I was coming to that only. Anyway, our investment bank.
Equity research is probably more information driven, more granular. Investment banking or some marketing related job wherein you have to either sell an asset and at the same time apply your business knowledge. But equity research, there's no marketing element to it. There's clearly a defined wall between these two, right? You have the private side, which is banking, investment banking, and the public side, which is research. We don't speak to them, they don't speak to us because we have access to internal sensitive company information. The research doesn't have access to them. They can only rely on public information. So it's really your own where your interest lies. If it would be, I'd say if you're a fresher, I'd say evaluate both the opportunities. I think they both are extremely interesting. And then wherever you choose to go is completely up to you. Both are equally good opportunities to evaluate.
Got it. I think we should just wrap it up around here. I think we had a very good session. What do you say, Aniket?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for coming, man. Like it has been awesome. Only from a listening perspective, I had a great time. I mean, 1 hour just flew by, and I hope other people, and I'm sure other people also, were quite must have really enjoyed listening to you speak about IB in a very, very grounded and like rudimentary level, if I may say so, but like in a way that would actually resonate and make sense. So thanks a lot for being here, man. Like I had a great time.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me so much. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, everybody. Shout out to Nerd Life.
We are going to record this and we are going to put it up. and sell it as a TED Talk.
Definitely, sir.
Ahmed's first TED
Definitely,
Talk.
man.
TED Talk.
Ahmed, my
And when
TED Talk,
Ahmed
definitely.
is going to manage,
Yeah,
10,000 crores worth of assets at some
Yeah,
point
yeah.
in future,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
put
yeah.
this session up as Ahmed's
Yeah,
first TED Talk.
First TED Talk, definitely.
Then we'll put
Thank you. Definitely, guys.
like weird Google AdSense there to make some 10-12 rupees on it.
No, thanks guys. Thanks everyone for joining in. I mean, so just to wrap it up, we have started this networking and an educational portal, or some
Community.
session called Fintastic, and we are planning to build a network of finance professionals, especially chartered accountants, CPAs, CFAs, so that we can educate everyone as to what different profiles are and what are the odds of getting into these profiles, and how someone can go about it. Of course, 1 hour was very less for investment banking. We'll try and get either Ahmed or other friends of ours. Chirag Harwani is here. Wow, Chirag is also an investment banking dude, ex-KPMG. Hi, Chirag. So we'll try to get more people on these sessions, and I hope this is helpful. You can join I'm sure you guys would be on our WhatsApp group. You can follow us on Clubhouse. If you are on Clubhouse, we have a club called Fintastic, and probably 1 month or so down the line, we'll shift all these sessions to Clubhouse once it's out on Android.
Or at least, if not shift, at least hold way more frequently and
Right.
without bounds, because it's much easier to really have open conversations over there. Also stick
Right.
around and stay tuned on that WhatsApp group for more. I think we'll try to bring more awesome people like Ahmed, and hopefully have Ahmed also come and talk to us again.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to come again and brag about what I do for a living.
We want nothing more than that.
No, guys, thanks.
That reminds me of the message that I sent you earlier as to what you were not supposed to say. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us. We'll end the room and we'll keep you posted on the next session.
1 second.
Chirag, let's catch up.
Definitely. Chirag, what's up?
Sure. Let's speak.
Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Good.